Hello, very good morning, everybody. So you are joining to another session of the INSIGHTEA program, so which is powered by the International Institute of Knowledge Management. So the program is set for the designated exclusively for archives the illuminate knowledge through experience, powered by the International Institute of Knowledge Management in collaboration with Association for Women, Asian African Association for Women, Gender and Sexuality, International Society for Research on Child and Youth, and the International Society for Social Science and Humanities. So this is the second edition of the INSIGHTEA program, which was established from the last month, end of the last month. So you are very welcome to this session. And I also again greeting you very good evening for all of you. So this week's sessions will be joining by Mr.Arshad Refai, who is the talking on his experience in successfully overcoming the recent pandemic, utilizing the effective marketing strategies. So I will just bring you some important news on Arshad Refai. So he is actually earned his childhood education at the Hijaz International College in Colombo, and he received his secondary education from the Isipatana College, Colombo, and completed his postgraduate in strategies management and leadership in and also currently reading for his MBA affiliated to the University of Northampton. And he received his, he also actually the all-rounder is also have some colors in his sports. He received his black belt in karate at age of 11, and he was the 7 times consecutive track champion at his school, and also was awarded the highest award in his school, Hijaz Site of the Year. So, and the Mr. Refai was awarded the Leadership Award of the Year of 2017 at the Alpha One Award. So, apart from that, Mr. Refai was awarded the Employee of the Year 2018 at the annual awards of 2018 organized by the International Association, International Institute of Knowledge Management. So Mr. Refai currently also serves as the International Relations Officer at the International Association for Social Science and Humanities. So we warmly welcome you, Mr. Arshad Refai, to our second session of INSIGHTEA as Head of Marketing at the International Institute of Knowledge Management. Good morning, very good evening, Arshad.
Good afternoon, Madhushan, and it's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you very much. Look forward to the program.
So, okay, as all of us know, so a few months back in the end of 2019, so actually all of us, everybody around the world lost his all the plans. So everybody was stuck, and still the most of the segments are collapsed. And we also don't have, actually, I mean, most of the people don't have what comes next. So in that case, I would like to ask Mr. Refai, Mr. Arshad, for how we have utilized these past few months during the pandemic, and also what was your immediate reaction actually once you encountered with that COVID-19 pandemic? And that was a crisis actually new to the world. So, and the time when no one had plans to stay immune. So what was actually your immediate, I think I can hear you. Hello?
Yes. Well, Madhushan, it is true that we were taken up by surprise from this COVID-19. Well, the world, in fact, was taken up by surprise. But it was something that was awaited. I mean, we could see day by day, we could see the progression, and we could look and we could think of saying that we will come against some difficult times. So as a result of which, it was nothing exception for me as well, and for my company as well, because we were part of the rest of the people. So what really mattered was it's all about the plans that we have. So it's down to the plans that we have that needs execution. So when we actually look into the plans that have been set, normally what really happens is when setting plans, there comes a phase where you just confine yourself to that particular plan. You do not have alternatives in terms of planning, or you don't have contingency plans. And that is the reason why I suppose that most of the organizations and most of the companies out there did really come across a situation as such. And yes, of course, it was new to the world. What really mattered was to focus into some of the basic things. So when looking into that basic aspect, it was very important to know whether the main intent that I actually had when it comes to battling the problems that we were facing from COVID-19 was uh, it's not basically on what's happening right now, but what's next. Because as a leader myself, I have my subordinates actually who are being employed under me, and they look up to the leader in order to make decisions. I think this was a phase, a testing phase for the leaders to be able to step up with their conscious and not with any documented plans. So if you're going to be confined to a framework, and if you're going to look after something that a set of tasks that you feel is something that you need to go behind, I believe that is not the right way to look into a crisis as such, and that resulted in the closing down of many businesses out there. So what really matters is, I mean, from my perspective, I would say that we are very prone to be very theoretical, right? Sticking to the theoretical aspect of it. To be precise, we would say, if you take the subjects like crisis management, risk management, these are popular topics to be spoken in a company. It's very evident that these topics are being widely being spoken in the companies. But what really happens is when a crisis does happen, there is a tendency that we fail to meet the crisis in a more positive manner in order to make sure that we as a company be able to overcome it. So that's really important for us to look into it. And as I always tell my subordinates, to look into threats and try to seek opportunities in those threats. Because we see, that if you actually look into the threats perspective, threats is something that inculcates a fear within you. But when you see opportunities, it's a positive impression. So if you can seek opportunities within the threats, I believe you will embrace the challenge a lot more better than this. So because eventually what really matters is how you will be able to embed what you have, or what are the plans that you have in your mind, in the minds of the employees. Because no matter how much you plan, the documentations you do, if you don't have your employees to step front, and if they're not going to take the baton and run, we are not going to be successful as leaders, because that's very important. And the next best thing, that as a leader, what my immediate reaction was for this pandemic was to acquire as much as information I could, what really is happening around. Because you see, when something happens and when there is some news that's going around, we know that it really is something that is open for distortion of information. We see a lot of fake information going out there just for the essence of spreading the flavor of such news, right? But if we can grasp in something, if we are going to get the real essence of what's really happening around, it's important for us as a leader, because the reason we have people underneath whom we shall be able to nurture and provide them with the right information, give them the right inputs, so that we build them to take up the challenges and to understand the depth of the challenges and go forward. So my immediate reaction was pretty much that, because I really did want to look forward than to look what's happening right now, or what had actually caused the pandemic. because it's not, as I used to say, it's not a destination when it comes to serving in the capacity of a leader for a company, or serving in the capacity of a leader for any means. It's not a destination, it's a destiny. So we need to look forward.
Yes, thank you very much for your answer. So that was actually descriptive and so fruitful. So answer the question which I posed to you. So actually, the everywhere and the world depend on the lost and we launch new adaptations for that. So how actually like that, so if we have to launch new adaptation for the existing pandemic, so there was actually there were nobody can guarantee that what happens. So if they're going to lost or if they are going to win, so what happens after the launch and practice their new adaptation. So how certain you were that so your plans would be successful at the pandemic, at the time, during the pandemic? Any kind of knowledge on that? So what about that?
Well, I'm somebody who actually does not depend or trust my plans, but I do depend on my people, right? Yes, of course, you need to have plans. Plans are just going to be a guidance, and it's going to pave you the way that you are supposed to, face something, or maybe to reach a particular aim or a target. But when you take any plan, what would you actually require behind the scene is your people. So as at a time of a crisis, right? Because when I actually did plan out during this crisis as to how successful we would be, if the question says how certain I would be in terms of whether my plan would be successful or not, what I would in fact state is the fact that rather than have nothing and just go, absent-minded and say, okay, fine, now we've been hit by a pandemic, we've been hit by a crisis, and we cannot do anything about it. We cannot do anything that we can overturn this. If you are going to be under this mindset, yes, of course, we might have to lose a lot that we have certainly built over the years. So instead of that, what you have to basically do is you need to plan in a means that you get the consent of your people, because your people are the ones who are going to, turn the dreams into a reality. So as a matter of fact, it was very important for me in my pursuit towards battling. It was very important to bring them to one place, bring my entire department to one place, and then talk to them and discuss means as to what are their perspective towards your battling this crisis. And you see, there is a tendency, and it's a wise saying, rather than individual decision making, we could score a lot on collective decision making. So that is the reason why we say so, is because people who can bring in more ideas into the whatever the plans that we're going to make, they can bring in more ideas, they can bring in more skills, they might be more creative than we are. So this is a very important component I see, not only at times of crisis, but it's very important during a time of crisis, where we get the people to come together, and then we do a brainstorming, we discuss, we've been able to, give them the proper information, accurate information. That's very important, to give them the accurate information and be able to make sure that we make them speak, because they are going to walk the talk. So it's very important it's not about vesting the burden. Here I am actually talking about bringing their ideas in, giving them an opportunity to propose, rather than we making some decisions. I think the issue that is universal, which we actually see in a lot of companies these days, is the fact that, especially at times of a crisis, because that's the time that we believe that we cannot afford to have an error for margin. So as a result of which, we look forward to make sure that we make the best decisions we could ever do. So, but then we take that, the responsibility, the accountability, and vest it on us, or maybe within just a couple of people. And for the interest of the company, we plan to do some plans, which I believe is not sufficient. And the way I actually looked forward to in this approach, sorted in bringing the plans out, was not single-handed, but was with my team.
Yeah, that was also so fruitful and so descriptive. So thank you very much. And we have identified your plans and how did you work with that. So actually the thing what I have noticed very important was you have kept trust on your people. So those who are serving under you. And that is what I think so one of the most important thing as a leader. So of course the leaders not ask others to do something. Of course they always encourage people to do something and also give his or her strength to their people. Not leaders actually not try to glamorous to themselves, they also trying to keep their people to glamored and keep their people to encourage and motivated. So that was the things that I have notified in this situation during the pandemic, which you executed. So actually, we will just move to the another question. So we just utilizing new practices and actually so using or practicing new things. So bring you to the new era or bring you to the new stage. So give you or maybe you will be received many things new and you will be benefited. So what prompted you to think out of the box and execute strategies that are not in the books? That is the one of the most important thing in this the session, so which we have highlighted, not in the books. So could you please just talk on that, so as that is the most important one in this session?
Well, Madhushan, the word strategy, I believe it's a word that we fancy a lot because, we hear this word quite often saying, okay, anything to do, any plans that you need to execute, we say, okay, fine, we have this strategy, that strategy, so on and so forth. So when we actually take the word strategy, it is much more than that, right? And discussing in relation to what my strategies were that were not in the books, that were out of the box, that I've been able to think from my perspective. Because what I feel is, when you actually have problems which are not part of the books, right? You don't have problems as this the COVID-19, any pandemic coming up or any crisis that's arising. It's not part of the books. So why do you have to look into or look for solutions in the books? So it's basically down to deciding as to what are the means and what are the methods that you can actually take yourself successfully out of this problem while embracing the reality. So that's really important. So first and foremost, what really did matter to me was understanding the depth of the actual scenario. As I mentioned before, it was very important to understand and study what really is happening at that particular moment. And in order to execute or implement any strategies, before you do or make strategies, it's very important for leaders, especially, to understand the end-to-end knowledge of the job that you're actually performing or your company's interest. It's very important because what we see when it comes to a lack of management from the leader's perspective, especially at times of crisis, where leaders be able to make decisions purely on intuition, that really end up in some fatal results. So that is something that we have to avoid, and we have to look for something that is not part of the books and look forward to making it more advisable and very wise enough to pursue in order to achieve your outcomes. Because obviously, like I said, it is a going concern that we have to look into. So basically, in terms of that, we have to make sure that number one is never program your people. You should never be able to program your people to stick to a particular task or a job. So I think a lot of companies actually do this, as a result of making sure that they serve only the job description that they're supposed to serve. Right? At a time of a crisis, there comes a moment where it does not necessarily matter whether you're from the operations department, whether you're from the marketing department, you're from the finance department, you're from the supply chain. It doesn't matter. But eventually, there we become united towards achieving a common goal. And in this case, we are required to be able to think well and be able to work as a team in order to get this going. So if I would take my company, the way actually we figured out our way in getting these strategies in place is basically, like I told you, we had a brainstorming session. This actually included the chairman, the managing director, the assistant general manager, and the rest of the managers, along with all the employees. The reason why we actually did encourage this culture within the company is the fact that we always give a lot of emphasis and place for the ideas that people propose, for the ideas that people bring in. Because everybody is skilled, everybody is educated, nobody is inferior to other. So they have some good ideas that we might be, really blessed with. So it's all about bringing out and giving them an opportunity to glitter, to shine out there. So as a result of which, we did a brainstorming session, and then we took each and every individual's job role, what they are supposed to serve in. And we were able to make sure that we gave them the real scenario. So this is very important for the leaders out there, I would say. Being transparent is very important when it comes to a company's outset. Transparency, yes, of course. I'm not referring to the confidential information. Yes, of course, to a certain extent, there is confidential information that we might have to retain. This is not such information. But when it comes to the real scenario, the situation of the company, if a company is doing good, you need to appreciate the employees. If the company is not doing good, you have to motivate the employees. It's not basically about blaming them, or it's not basically about trying to push them as low as much as you can. It's all about motivating them for them to take the next stride, for them to try even better. So that is a very important component. So after having discussed what are the things that we could actually do with the consent of all, meaning this is not a single-handed taken decision, with the consent of all. Of course, we've been able to set the structure and the guidelines. We actually made preparation to embrace the working from home model, the work from home model. You see, the work from home model has not been something that has been popular in the world, not today, but then. This was somewhere in the latter part of March, I would suppose, before the country was imposed a lockdown. The company was able to take, foreseeing the risk of, facing difficulties. We had taken meetings, a couple of weeks ago. We were able to have a brainstorming session, talk to the people. I was able to talk to the marketing department, which I believe is one of the most important departments in the company. And especially the challenge that we have as a company is the vulnerability that our industry has. We organize academic conferences, so it's part of events. So our participants are majority being represented from overseas, and we have local participation as well. So it was one of the most vulnerable industries that we were right now in, and we had to face a lot of challenges in that per se. So as a result of which, after having planned, when the country actually imposed the lockdown, I remember that it was a Thursday, that actually was the last day of working before the lockdown was imposed. So the next day, the Friday, was the first day that we actually started working from home. We have made all settings, and we were able to carry out our responsibilities, carry out our tasks, day-to-day tasks, day-to-day operations uninterrupted. So the importance that I would like to emphasize here is the amount of preparation that is required rather than pondering over the situation. You are not going to find a solution pondering over the situation, but look forward to what you could do in the future. What could you do the next moment as a company? As a marketing, the head of marketing, I have a plan of my own for the company. For as any other companies, we have an annual plan, a master plan that we have, and then we break it down to divisional plans. So we were, struck by the COVID in March, which was very early this year. So the plans that we all had, if you had been very much dependent on a single plan, as a leader, it's very important to have contingency plans, plan A, plan B, plan C. A lot of people would argue the fact that, the moment you have plans, the subordinates or the employees are not going to take it a lot serious to execute the best plan that we've got. That's not true. You have to have the alternatives with you. You're not going to communicate it to others, but you should have alternative plans as a leader. At the minimum, you should be able to have 3 plans that you have to have with you. The first plan is going to be your best plan. So that is like the best of the plans for you to achieve the target that has been set by the company, to achieve the company's objectives. The next plan is the next best plan, the alternative plan, which in case if there were a slight change or slight difference to what is there, you could in fact stick to your plan B. Then you have to have a plan prepared for the worst case scenario. Yes, of course, you cannot imagine. I mean, of course, now onwards, I know a lot of companies, a lot of leaders would be able to think a lot ahead and think different means of establishing their company from harming. But when it comes to this plan, there should be a worst case scenario plan, which I call as one of my favorite plans. The reason being, you should be able to have such plan in order to be able to be uninterrupted whenever something of this similar crisis happens. So as a result of which, you have to have these plans with you, and you communicate your best plans with your managers, keep them informed, and be able to move forward with regards to this. So as the strategies that we spoke about, working from home was quite successful. How we've been able to do that? Because we've been one of the most premier companies in establishing the working from home model. And it was very successful because we will not compromise any task that we have to do. In fact, our employees need to be appreciated. I certainly would like to commend them. The reason being, they worked hard, worked day and night, right? It was not a matter of 8:30 to 5:30. They actually put their heart and soul, because that is to the amount of which a leader should be able to embed the passion that comes within them in order to, approach a target or a task that they are assigned with. So I could very much remember that we were one of the first companies, the moment the pandemic was hit, to organize webinars. Why did we actually do these webinars? Because we actually wanted to spread the real information. We wanted to spread real facts. So along with webinars, I remember that our first webinar was on Sunday. That was just 3 days after the lockdown was imposed. The guys worked on weekends. They worked day and night, and they were able to put up the show. And we were very successful in doing webinars. So the point being, we addressed webinars on specific genres, giving them the insights on particular subjects and how each industry has been able to is affected, and how could you actually come out of those, proposing solutions. So this was one of the things that actually did. That was something that we actually appreciated and proposed a lot when it comes to society as well. Look forward to what is there, look forward to what is to come, the life after COVID, because that was really, really important. And meanwhile, our main intent, the moment the COVID was struck, we were not actually looking to maximize our profitability. Our concern was not profitability. but our concern was to live our vision and our mission statements, revolutionizing the Asian research culture, which is actually in terms of enhancing knowledge. So we are in the knowledge management industry. We understood our purpose of existence. So in order to do that, what we actually did was we created campaigns, poster campaigns, we created video campaigns, which educated people as to what they're supposed to do in order to make sure that they're not being infected from COVID. Then how could you actually stay away from COVID? So these were strategies that we actually implemented. This was not with the intent of maximizing profitability, because that was not our main concern. Because there's a lot more that we can do. Because I believe a lot of companies actually talk about the corporate social responsibility, but corporate social responsibility today has become part of the media. It has become a part of advertising. Say, okay, fine, a company, we as a company, we are doing this corporate social responsibility. You don't have to be that. You don't have to always be, doing with the intent of a return. So moving from our intent of organizing conferences, which we believed, because we understood the people, we understood the situation right now in the country and the world as a whole. So basically, in terms of strategies, we were very much focused on the 4 main strategies, which was one of which was understanding emotions, because it was very much evident that during this pandemic, a lot of people were affected, and the world itself was affected. A lot of people lost their jobs, financially were down, but all what they actually required was a sense of consoling, and you need to be with them. So what really that was proposed to my team is what I told them, guys, it's not about getting into the shoes of the customers, but to wear them for reality. So that is something that is really that we looked into, because you say if in case, because what we did not actually want to do in terms of marketing is basically to go bombard them with a lot of campaigns, asking people to come take part in conferences, pay, do this, do that. This is not something that we actually look forward to, because we understood the emotions of people. We understood the emotions of people, and we knew the fact that a lot of people have been affected. So as a result of which, what we felt was, yes, of course, having operated for the last 7 to 8 years, and the databases that we have with us today, and these are the people who have been with us in our journey. So without any motive of profitability, we wrote emails to them. We sent notes to them to make sure that we've been able to address their, to partake in the difficulties or their grief. So we were able to talk to them in terms of that. We built that link, which I believe is more superior than building a brand. So at that moment, that was one of the strategies that we actually did. We went back to our clients, we went back to our participants, we checked on their families, we checked on how they're doing, and not proposing anything else, as the conference be a part of it is, and not that. So that is one of the things that we actually, as a strategy, we were able to do. And the next thing that we were able to do is building a network. At a time of a crisis, it is very important for us to understand that any issue, especially when it comes to a global phenomenon, you cannot face individually. So individually you're weaker, united you stay strong. So this is the underlying reason or underlying intent behind this whole thing. So as a result of which, what TIIKM, the International Institute of Knowledge Management, they nominated me in order to represent in the forming of associations. I was a part of the forming of the associations of the World Disability and Rehabilitation Professional Association, the International Association for Social Science and Humanities, and the International Association for Advancement of Science, and the Association for Environmental Management and Sustainability. So representing the TIIKM, I was able to be a part in forming these associations only for the objective of bringing the community together. Because now all of them have been scattered. So we understood that each and every person is worried about their own chores. and so they have been scattered, and so they don't have a universal intent. So what we believe and what TIIKM always believe is all about creating community, creating that network, connecting people with superior minds. And how could you do so? By bringing them to a single platform. So as a result of which, I was part of the forming of these associations. Thanks to TIIKM for having nominated me to be part of the pilot batch in forming these associations, which are currently doing really good in terms of organizing conferences as well, and they've been hosting conferences themselves. So it certainly is a good move that we actually did in terms of that. The third strategy, what we thought about is, what we did was, we're not engaging campaigns, as I said. We understood the fact that the real essence, the effectiveness of the campaigns that we are supposed to do. So it's basically, we have to understand, when something happens, you don't do the conventional way of doing things. Because we have to understand that conventional way of doing things does not really matter. Because the reason things are not going to be the same. It has changed now. So you have to change yourselves. You have to adapt to the changes. So that's very important. So when you take, when you take the paid campaigns, you have to be very particular, because it was very evident the fact that not only conferences, but also other products, a lot of products and services, a lot of people were quite backward in terms of searching. So you don't opt for a search campaign at that time of the period, and you don't actually go on investing a lot of money on your campaigns, that is not actually a way that you could win the hearts of your clients in order to be a part of your endeavor. So as a result of which, what really mattered was, we wanted to raise the awareness to people and tell them, yes, we understand that there is this COVID, the pandemic that we've been hit with, but as a result of which, we have to be also be mindful that there is life after COVID. So that's important. The career progression, especially since we're working with a research fraternity, it was very important for us to persuade the researchers to come forward to engage themselves in researches, because their priorities have changed. Their priorities have changed the assumptions. So as a result of which, when we actually provoked them, we wrote to people, we made them understand, this is the reason as to why you have to be able to not make sure that the crisis has it hinders your career progression, but be a part of it. Because you see, research is that component that will actually mean to bring in solutions, maybe to a global phenomenon, maybe to a crisis. You need research for each and every solution that we like to provide, which is going to be sustainable. So this was some of the things that we actually, we wrote to people. We wrote directly to people. We did not send bulk emails and making sure that we keep people on awareness. We raise awareness about our products and all stuff. And we got the consent from people that they are willing to be a part of, in order to be a part of conferences, they would need these platforms even amidst this time. So we were able to bring in platforms. We were able to develop a separate arm from TIIKM. It is called the TIIKM Online. And we brought in the virtual conferences. We've been able to develop virtual conferences and making sure that we did not compromise on the quality of the conference. Yes, of course, we brought down our registration fees. We understood the situation. We understood what is actually going around. But what our main intent was promote or provoke people to come forward and engage themselves in research and inculcate the habit of research among the others. So we provided these platforms to them. And then fourthly, it's about the people. What did we actually do with our employees? So we made them understand. And we are proud to say today that our strategies have really worked out. And that is the reason that we have been referred to as one of the most resilient companies in Sri Lanka today during the COVID crisis. And when it comes to the attrition rate and the job redundancy, we are proud to say that we had 0%. We had nobody being sent home, and we've not been able to have people resign. But we've been able to serve them with the salaries that they are supposed to be receiving. And we've been able to give them, nurture them, and we've been able to give them opportunities to engage into different functions of the company. operations, marketing, finance. So they've been able to, develop themselves as well. So these are the strategies that we actually used, that as a company, we thought out of the box. And I myself been able to, lead this campaign, or the strategies that we've been able to establish. I believe I'm quite satisfied and happy since I've been part of this. And one more thing that I would like to mention in terms of, when you actually need to be nurtured to a position where you need to be able to think in a more strategic manner, is where it's down to your superiors, your bosses, in fact. And if I would say TIIKM, the National Institute of Knowledge Management, as a company, has provided that culture. They have a culture that is very different to the culture that most of the companies in Sri Lanka do have. The culture that we have in TIIKM is a culture where you propose ideas, the liberty to propose ideas, and the liberty to be able to step forward and be a part of whatever the endeavor that we actually take. So I would like to, extend my sincere gratitude to the CEO and Chairman, Mr. Arshad Refai, who has been a great marketer himself. I've been able to look up to him as well. And Mr. Isanka P. Gamage, the Managing Director and the co-founder of the National Institute of Knowledge Management, who certainly has been the captain of the ship, who's been able to take us forward. And Mr. Duminda Kaur Gamage, the Assistant General Manager, who has played a vital role in turning this around. So these are the people who actually have nurtured me today as a successful leader at this very young age, in order to be able to think practically and to be able to face challenges in a more productive manner.
Yeah, so that was very nice. So I was so interesting at that answer. So actually, what I'm thinking now, that the people who are listening us also having many questions. From what you have delivered. So what I have to say, the people who are possessing many questions, please leave your questions in our chat box. So you will be having a chance to answer your questions from Mr. Refai at the end of the program. So that will be, we have allocated the time for a you have list the special strategies that you have practiced during the pandemic. And also, actually, many people were struggling to get back to the normalcy. So maybe some people was thinking and practicing without an agenda, but it is very nice, and it was a way some that how you have done all the things with your team, and a way some assessed, and also with the confidence. So that is the world actually expecting from leaders like you, actually those who are still in the passing your young age. So that is just now we are moving to the very special moment. So because as I know, so Arshad have several years journey with the International Institute of Knowledge Management, even 4 to 3 years back from the pandemic. And so let's move to the video, and that would be actually a nice video. So the people and those who are joining us can see and watch. So what Mr. Arshad Refai and his team done with the journey of Yeah, that was very nice, and I was really excited that how you have done your works also with very young people and also with the very high prominent profiles in the such a particular field. So that was really interesting, and that was awesome and tremendous. So once I was also watching that video, so you have done many works like international conferencing and international event management, something like that. So that also was so professionalism that also was secured. And together with you have smoothly done your job with your team, and so also while keeping your team more energetic and fresh. So that is what we expected from leaders like you, especially those are still at very young age. So next question that actually I am possessing is something not a common, that really once I am talking with you, actually that is a question that I really cannot ignore. So that must pose to you. So what led you to become who you are today? Would be a great if you could share these factors that contributed you to become a successful like this young, so successful profile at that much young age.
Oh, well, Madhushan, I would like to just mention two words that's really important. One is leadership, the other one is discipline. So these are the two things that have been able to nurture me at this young age to be able to lead and serve in the capacity of leader. So it's basically the phases that I've actually spent in my life. So starting from when it comes to leadership and discipline. So leadership per se, I would like to first and foremost, obviously, it's down to my parents because my father himself was a leader and he was my role model. And then moving on to my brother, the elder brother, who actually been able to lead as somebody setting an example, and that is how we've been able to, or I myself have been able to nurture myself as well. And then moving on, I'm in fact indebted to the school that I've actually served in, the Hijaz National School, the school that is the reason behind my success and for whom I am today, because they've been able to nurture me from the very start, because I've held several leadership positions at school, being the head prefect, the games prefect of the school, the athletic captain, and had a lot of I held a lot of positions in school, and it was the place that actually nurtured me and has contributed to a major part of what I am today. And not forgetting my secondary school, INSIGHTEA College, and Mr. A.C. Pereira, then principal, who actually been able to be very supportive to me. And I was the secretary of the Interact Club and the president of the ELA, the English Literature Association. I also headed the debating team, the big debate team of INSIGHTEA College at that time. And then last not but the least, I would say it's my company, right? The International Institute of Knowledge Management, TIIKM, for having given me the opportunity to grow. So that is one of the most important element that a lot of individuals who aspire to become leaders, who aspire to be successful people out there, being unable to find it. Because the reason a company's culture should be able to be promoting or motivating people, not just to serve in the capacity of for what they've been recruited, but also to think out of the box, to go beyond of their capacity, to bring their capacity within. Giving those chances is very important. So as I said, the top management, the CEO, the chairman, the managing director, and the assistant general manager, they themselves have been great leaders of their own. And also, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to my team, the marketing department. In fact, because it is with whom that I've been able to, take this baton, or take this and be at the forefront. So it is very important to be able to be disciplined, to be able to be working within the ethical framework, because that is very important. So for those who actually are aspiring, this is the same thing that I actually want to tell, is basically when it comes to growing or progressing in life, make sure that you always, have two words in mind: leadership and discipline. Try to always be responsible for your actions, be accountable for what you do. So those are my stories, part of my stories, which actually provoked me to become who I am today.
Yeah, so that was awesome and really interesting. So thank you very much for that. So I think so the listeners also was happy with that answer, and also that is what they have to really need to get to know from your side. So okay, now let's move to the another very important session, which is called the question and answer session. So we have received few answers, Arshad. So I hope that would be also really interesting, and you will be happy to answer these questions. So I will just keep a few of questions. Maybe there are several questions. I'll just pick up two questions because we have a limited time. So then we have set the program until 5 o'clock. So, okay, the first questions we are just receiving from Sri Lanka. So the question is, what are the challenges have you personally faced in your workplace, and how you overcame the situations? So that also would be really nice. And so actually, Arshad can also come across with that question.
Well, when it comes to the personal difficulties that I've faced in the company or in serving in my capacity, is basically to make sure that I've been able to put my people to the right path. So that's a very important component. And when we say the difficulties, it's basically a majority of it is external, but not internally. Because I would say that, like I said, yes, I was performing. So was my team performing. So it was a matter of fact that we kept on facing. But of course, there were instances like the crisis was one such instance, and there has been some other instances where, in terms of sometimes in conferences or when a conference is around, there could be some natural change in the natural environment that has actually impacted, bringing in such challenges. So if I actually take the majority of the challenges that I have to face in the company, I would say it's not basically a challenges per se, but there are certain things that I take it to myself as challenges, because one of the challenges that I take it to myself as is that particular intent of developing my people, because I do not want to be the one who actually will be reading all the time. I would want to be, nurturing the people underneath me to become better people, or to become better managers, better leaders for tomorrow. So that is how I've been able to take up the challenges and serve it myself.
Yeah, I think the person who posed the questions was happy with the answer. So then I will just pick another one question as the time is against for us. So this would be the last question. So I am posing to you, Arshad. So how did you change your marketing strategies to adjust to the new normal situation? Of course, I know that your answer would be you have a long answer, but as we have a limited time, of course, you will be able to just give some not descriptive, actually a summary. So I hope the person who has posed the question would be happy. So, and what about that? So
Right.
that
So
is
basically
about
about
actually
the
how
strategies,
have
I
you
believe that I have actually
changed
spoke.
your strategies? Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Badachan. So basically talking about the strategies that I've been able to look forward to be able to manage in terms of the pandemic with the new normal situation is basically, if I would like to put it into points in order to summarize what I've actually spoken. First, it was to understand what we are right now. What is that situation that is happening around? The second thing is to acquire as much as knowledge when it comes to your job role. So that is very important, because the reason you cannot looking for changes, you cannot adapt to changes, you not be able to do it so if you're not comfortable in your safe zone, or if you're not comfortable within your own space. So that is important. And thirdly, it is important, in order to adjust yourselves, you should be able to look forward to, nurture your people, be transparent to the decisions that you actually make, and be able to think of things that from, that's what I said. It's very important, the thing that I actually mentioned. So not just, get into the shoes of the customer, but then wear it for real, right? So that is important, because at any moment now, even returning to normalcy is not something that we are looking forward to, a situation that we were experiencing pre-COVID-19, because things have changed. A lot of people's priorities have changed, like I said. So as in terms of marketing, if you're actually marketing to people, it's very important for you to understand the emotions. Meanwhile, you have to have that balance between the objectives of the company as well, and as a result of which, develop strategies in order to balance both and be able to sufficiently meet their end goals. So here it is very important to work within or operate within an ethical framework. So that is very important, because a lot of people in the race towards acquiring profitability, right, they forget sustainability, right? So it's very important to make sure that you align your marketing strategies in order to battle the new normalcy in a manner keeping in mind that you're dealing with not people that you've dealt in the past, but with some people that you're newly introducing yourself. So it's down to all brands to make sure that you'll establish a strong point, making sure that you all stick within the ethical framework. So that is something that I really want to stress on, because no marketing strategies would be successful if and otherwise, if your real intent or the objective is not within the ethical framework, but being aggressive on marketing and being able to sell or promote. It is not the only things that you need to actually do, and also exploit your employees. You should not necessarily do, because marketing strategies does not necessarily mean it's all about sales and promotions. It's also being how you market yourself to your people, how you market your company to the others, how do you market yourself to your customers. So this all counts in. Yes.
Yeah, so that was very descriptive, and I think the person who posed the questions also was happy and received what he needs. So okay, so now we are just reaching to the end of the session. So actually today we got the head of marketing, Arshad Refai. So finally, but I also have to pose one question to Arshad. So as a young leader, so what is your message to the audience, the young leaders to the out there, and those who are aiming to becoming one and reach the pinnacle of their success?
Right. Well, that's a good question. All what I have to say to the people who are actually aspiring to be leaders, or the ones who are actually serving in the capacity of a leader right now, is be humble, be obedient, be disciplined yourself. Discipline does not necessarily mean when it comes to your the personal appearance and the way you actually carry out yourself, but also in the job that you actually do. So make sure that becoming a leader, remember one thing, that being a leader is not something that you want it for yourself only, right? There's a lot of hard work that's behind it. And when you become a leader, make sure that you actually do look down and also give your employees a little tap on the back, right? You don't have to look down on the employees, but then you have to look down in order to pick them up and make sure that you nurture them with whatever that you actually could. Because you have to remember that you're not a leader if you don't have followers, or if you don't have subordinates or employees who actually will serve the purpose for you. So being a leader is not an easy thing. It's a daunting task, and it's a huge challenge that you have to face. So as a result of which, be mindful. The moment you become a leader, it's not the end, it's just the beginning. So make sure that you equip yourself with the required knowledge, look after your employees. Don't forget that it's because of them that you are here today. So that is my message to the young leaders out there. Be humble, be obedient, and be disciplined. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, and let's now moving to the end of the session. I hope the people those are joined us today. So had a very fruitful discussion with Arshad Refai, the head of the marketing, International Institute of the Knowledge Management. So I really would thank you, Arshad, for joining us today. So and giving us this time from your tight schedule, and also here for your very new and actually I just meaning like priceless ideas and insights actually. So that was very helpful and fruitful for the audience. So again I would give my thanks and make yeah. So then let's moving to the wind up the session. So now thank you very much all of those people those who joined us today sessions. So as we have discussed many new marketing strategies, those are not in the books. So I hope that session was very richful. And again we will have another session so with another young profile. So what I finally say to you is stay tuned us with INSIGHTEA, which is powered by the International Institute of Knowledge Management. Again, thank you, Arshad. I wish you a very best for your future, and I hope your all dreams may come through, and so you will have a tremendous future. So okay, let's wind up and wrap up the session. Thank you very much, all the people who joined us today, and stay tuned until we get back to you as soon as possible.